Hello, Man in Gray here with another Man in Gray book review. Today's book is Graves of the Great and Famous from Jane Austen to Elvis Presley, written by Alistair Horn and published by Amber Books in 2022. It's 224 pages. You know, people have all kinds of hobbies. Bird watching is a big hobby. Stamp collecting. Some people restore antique vehicles or classic cars. Some people do puzzles. Some people are big fans of video games, whatever. One of the more unusual hobbies is called graving. And graving is kind of like bird watching, only for dead people. What you do when you're a graver is you'll go around to cemeteries and photograph the graves of famous people. Sometimes people take selfies of themselves with the dead person's grave, and sometimes they just take photographs of the grave. In fact, there's an entire website that's been around for years that's devoted to this. It's called Find a Grave, where you can type in the name of a celebrity and you can see a picture of what their grave looks like. And it gives the location and so forth. One of the more popular forms of graving is to, in the United States at least, is to go around and photograph the graves of all the U.S. presidents and the first ladies. And people do websites where they post their progress and so forth. So it's kind of like bird watching in a way, where you have a list of birds you want to see, and in this case, you have a list of graves you want to visit. Well, this book is sort of the greatest hits of graving. It contains color photographs of a number of famous people from various walks of life. In the book, Horn gives little captions for each picture, telling where the grave is, its location and so forth, and a little bit about the person. And in some of the more prominent people, there's a short essay describing the life of the person. And then there's a few short essays about certain cemeteries that are famous because they have a lot of famous people in them. So it's a combination of a photography book with little short biographies of famous people. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these examples here real quickly. It says this is a photography book. Here is... You can see this. Hang on a second. There we go. There's the grave of Karl Marx, the famous German founder of communism. He's buried not in Germany, but in London at Highgate Cemetery, a famous cemetery there. And ironically, to see Karl Marx's grave, you have to pay a fee. Here, it's the guy who argued against the ownership of private property, whose own grave is considered private property, and you have to pay a fee. I think it's $6 or $7 to go see it. His grave has actually been vandalized multiple times, and so they keep a close watch on it. It always puzzles me why anybody would vandalize a dead person's grave. What does that accomplish? But anyway, here is the gravesite of Jane Austen, who's buried in Winchester Cathedral in England. Also, there's a brass plaque on the floor and a window in honor of her as well. Of course, Austen was anonymous during her life. Her novels were all published anonymously. It wasn't until after her death that her identity was revealed by her family. And, of course, she continues to be famous now. Here is the grave in Vienna of Beethoven. Of course, Mozart also buried in Vienna, but in an unmarked grave. And we don't know exactly the location of it, but we do know where Beethoven's buried, and that's his tombstone there, very impressive looking. And then finally, here's, of course, Elvis Presley. Probably, I think next to Abraham Lincoln, Elvis's grave is probably the most visited grave in the United States, in Graceland in Memphis, Tennessee, of course. So, if you are interested in the topic of graving, and you're just kind of morbidly curious maybe, you want to see what the graves of all these people look like, this is a really interesting book. And you do learn something. I mean, it's not just photographs of graves. There are little biographies, and you learn a little bit about the cemeteries and so forth. So, if you're not put off by the topic, you might enjoy reading Graves of the Great and Famous by... make sure I get his name right, Alistair Horn. Yes, Alistair Horn. This has been another Man in Gray book review. Thanks for watching. I'll see you again next time.